This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Smith.
And now, your host, Kyle Yeomans.
Today is Wednesday, March 15th. We are live from the SWBC studios at the Star in Frisco, where we are 43 days away from the NFL draft in Kansas City. It is coming down to the nitty-gritty. It is coming down to the wire. We're back on the draft show presented by Miller Lite alongside Brian Broaddus. We've got Zach Wolchuk. No Aisha Morrison, no Bobby Belt today. They will be back very, very soon, but we will miss them here over the next hour as we get ready for the NFL draft. And we're going to have to talk a little bit of free agency and how it could potentially affect things because Cowboys were active in day 2, day 3 of free agency, and the new league year is today. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, for sure.
How about that? We got a little bit of time to break down what just happened and how it could affect the Cowboys' draft strategy. Then we're going to get into a ton of prospects, including what prospects you will hang your hat on. These are the slam dunk guys. These are the guys that you cannot miss on. I want to know it, and I want you to give me those guys that you cannot miss upon. But we'll get to that in a couple segments. Brian, Cowboys go out and get Donovan Wilson re-signed. They get Leighton Vander Esch re-signed. Oh, and they made a trade. They sent a 5th-round comp pick, one of those comp picks you wanted to trade.
Yeah.
And they went and got Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, good trade. And, you know, we kind of felt like that maybe – I know that Zach and I, when we do our show on 105.3 The Fan and we get into our big board report and stuff, we thought there was a position you might double dip at, which would be corner. And so now with the Gilmore trade, and all indications, Gilmore, I was talking to my gang of 7 guys. This guy still plays at a very, very high level. I think the Cowboys did a good thing by moving a pick to make this happen, but I don't think you're going to double dip now at corner. I don't think it – I think it might take you out of drafting a corner at 26, but I don't know about the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds. I think I learned one thing working with the Hall of Fame general manager Ron Wolf at the Green Bay. If you feel like you're good at a position, go ahead and take another guy. Just go ahead and add another guy, and then that way the depth of your team and all that will help. So – don't see them double dipping, but I do see them still looking at a pretty deep corner draft.
I still wouldn't be opposed to the double dip. I think that you're probably right, but I think looking ahead at these contracts, you're about to get into a situation with Diggs, right? What happens with him? Are you able to get that deal done? How long is he going to be on the roster if you can't, right? What do you do with Jordan Lewis? Does he end up being a cap casualty this offseason, or is this going to be his last year with the team? Gilmore's only a 1-year contract guy. So Israel Mukuamu also just 1 year left on that deal. You start to look at that position depth outside of Bland. Do you feel great about it? So I'm still not opposed to going ahead and adding more resources, especially since I think that is one of the best position groups in this class. Now, I think the Cowboys do a good job, and their scouting department's one of the best, if not the best in the NFL, of maybe getting ahead of some of these drafts. Maybe they're looking at next year and saying it's also a quality corner draft, and that could be very possible. But at 26, if one of these guys slides to you, I would definitely still be very open to making that pick personally. But you're right. And the Cowboys do this is how they work in the offseason. They make these moves where they're kind of plugging holes, and I think they made a no-brainer trade with Gilmore. You saw how that impacted them at the end of last season where they were so desperate to get a number 2 corner opposite Diggs once Anthony Brown went down. This fills that hole, but now you're not where, hey, we got to get a corner here in the first round at 26, so you got to reach. If a guy falls to you, just play the board. But, Brian, I love so many of these corners. I think this is one of these drafts where I don't think it's a bad idea to still go ahead and double dip because you might need those resources just looking ahead at some of your contracts for the future.
Well, when you look at the 5th-round comp pick, if you were to select a guy in that spot, would he step in and be a starter? It's definitely possible. Look at what Deron Bland did last year. But now Stephon Gilmore is a starter at that position. So like you said, no-brainer. You also mentioned names that were at the top that would fall. Does your list of those names change? Because we've talked about Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State, Devin Witherspoon, Illinois. Does your list get a little bit more constrained now that it isn't as big of a need? Because initially, if any of these corners were available at 26, you feel pretty good about making that selection. Does it maybe make it a little bit more of a CeeDee Lamb scenario where it has to be one of those no-brainer guys up there?
If it's a guy that I like, I would still just go ahead and do it. But I mean, if a guy like Keely Ringo falls to you, for instance, and I'm kind of iffy on him, probably not going to make that pick. And if you love Dalton Kincaid, or if it's Mayer or whatever, one of these tight ends, I'd go ahead and take the tight end, right? Because you still need weapons on offense. And as we've talked about with this receiver class, I think it's becoming more and more unlikely that one of these top guys falls to you, unless there's one of these. Maybe they are into Zay Flowers, and we're just kind of going ahead and overreacting because the history is they don't draft bigger or smaller receivers, and they would take Zay Flowers, who might be on the board there at 26. But
they did have a formal with both Zay Flowers and with Josh Downs out of North Carolina at the Combine, so they're kicking the tires.
They are.
Doesn't mean that they're going to pick the guy, but they are at least meeting him.
And they didn't meet with Bijan Robinson,
They
too.
did not.
And so
they met with the other Texas running back.
Yeah, they met with that. To me, I kind of feel like this thing is going a couple of different ways for them. I think it's going to be an offensive player. I think it's either going to be one of these wide receivers or it's going to be a tight end.
So skill player, not even offensive line.
No, I don't. And but again, it goes back to what Zach's talking about, though. If you're sitting there Torrance from Florida, Avila from TCU. We talked about the Cowboys feel like that John Michael Schmitz, the center from Minnesota, can play guard. Is that a route you would go? I kind of feel like, though, that on their board, the best player is going to be one of these wide receivers. Like I say, I think Robinson's going to be gone. I personally have Gibbs in the first round. I don't know if they would take Gibbs in the first round. I just don't think they would do it. But I think they would look at one of these wide receivers. We've talked about Johnston from TCU as being a possibly. One of these tight ends could be available that we've kind of all talked about as well. I just don't, with what they've done now on defense, I kind of feel like that they're going to look at one of these other positions, like I said, to try and help your quarterback.
Cowboys have not moved up in the draft ever since Mo Claiborne. But when we look at this wide receiver class, and, there's a bunch of question marks outside of the top guys, and maybe you even have question marks with the top. But if they say, all right, we've got a guy that we really love, and he starts to slide, maybe even a CeeDee Lamb, and they're doubtful he's going to make it to 26, but you got to move up a couple of picks. Is this one of those cases, if they swing and miss in free agency and trades to add another receiver, do you make the move up to go get that guy in the first round?
Man, okay. What I need to do is I need to go to my trusty site, NFL Tankathon, is what I need to go to.
You need to put together what it would take?
Well, I need to look at the order. I need to look at the draft order because I've got to try and all right, let's look who's ahead of the Cowboys then, and you tell me if you're going to have to go up. The Giants.
Yes, they need a receiver.
Okay, yep. Jacksonville. Probably not, right?
Probably not for Jacksonville.
Probably not. Minnesota?
I think Minnesota could. They moved on from Thielen.
Hold on here. Jacksonville could use a receiver. Who's their top guy? I mean,
Calvin
they had
Ridley.
Zay Jones.
Ridley,
that's right.
Kirk.
They did have Ridley back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. You're right.
So,
You're right.
I mean, Minnesota, Baltimore, Chargers. I mean,
Baltimore could use a receiver.
Baltimore and
as I'm
Minnesota
saying.
could.
I mean, I've carried you all the way to 21. You would have to find somebody. You would have to find somebody up there ahead of Seattle. I don't know if Seattle would necessarily draft a receiver.
Yeah,
Tampa Bay, I don't know if they necessarily draft a wide receiver. But if you're interested in going, you're probably going to have to go ahead of the Chargers there at 21.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my fear is because the teams in the 20s there, I think that's where you're going to start to get that run if it hasn't happened already, if it doesn't happen in the teens a little bit earlier. But I think in the 20s is where all of a sudden you're looking like, okay, maybe even a Jackson Smith and Jigba slides, and you're eyeing maybe we're going to be able to get our guy if they think that he's the best receiver in the draft class like I do. You might need to move up to go snag that dude.
Okay, well, here we go. Just to give you an example then. When you start to talk about, again, Tankathon does their mock draft. Mm-hmm. I love doing it because they keep the order and all that. Quentin Johnston goes to the Packers at 15. This is just their mock draft. Then they swing down and, Bijan Robinson's gone to the Bucs at 19. Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame's gone at 18 to the Detroit Lions. Now Jordan Addison, 22 to the Ravens. Mm-hmm. Zay Flowers, 23 to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Now you're sitting there. You're looking at a situation where Dalton Kincaid's there for you. They've got those defensive tackles there. They've got an offensive tackle. Would they take Kalijah Cansey, Pittsburgh defensive tackle? I mean, I know we're talking about wide receivers and stuff like that, but I mean, would you take Kincaid or Cansey given the choice?
I think I'm not as in love with Cansey as others are. I think he's a really good player.
He's a good player.
I don't think he's Aaron Donald.
Tackle.
I think the top 10 hype for him is crazy. At 26, I'd feel very comfortable taking him there. I think he's a first-round type of player. Yeah. Personally, I had a second-round grade on him. So bottom of the first round, I think at 26, that'd be a very good pick to make. But I think I would go with Kincaid.
I think I would take Kincaid too. I've got a first round on him. I have like a 1-2 cheater grade on Cansey all the way through, just because of the size. If he was a little bit bigger, I think I'd be okay.
But to our point here, the receivers are gone. They're starting to go. I mean, that's like you can. I mean, I could go further up the board for you here and make it even
12 to the Texans.
Yeah, exactly. If you want Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State, that's Houston at 12.
Right.
I mean, if you feel like, and I know Zach is your best receiver in the draft. If all of a sudden everybody's falling in love and he's 12th, that's a pretty steep climb to try and go get a guy that might go in the top, say, 13, 14.
Think about the 21 draft. The Cowboys moved down 2 spots. That's all it took was 2 spots, and they picked up a third rounder to do that. So Philadelphia had to move up 2 positions to leap over the Giants at 11 in 2021 to go and get Devontae Smith. They had to spend a third-round pick, a top 100 pick, just to make that move. We're talking about going from 26 to 12.
Yeah.
That's 14 spots.
And maybe it's different for every team. I mean, I remember when the Cowboys moved from 18 to 31, and they ended up taking Travis Frederick, and I think all they got was a third.
See, that's what happened in that draft, which was really strange, was that they got desperate. And what happened is they realized that they left a second-round pick on the table. They should have taken a 2 from San Francisco. Instead, they took the third. It was they really just blew the hatch and just dove for the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you left something out there, and it might have been one of those trades where you're running out of time, and you're like, we got to get this done. We don't want to make this pick. We want to move on, and that's what happens.
And I'm being super selfish because I want to see JSN in a Cowboys uniform, right? And I think that he's a guy that is going to make the most impact of any of these receivers. But even if it's a different receiver that they key on, I don't know that you can stay there at 26 and have a guy that you love fall to you. And if they don't make a move for Hopkins or Brandon Cooks or sign somebody in free agency, and now all of a sudden that receiver position is still one of your biggest needs. I mean, we've talked about this receiver class isn't wowing you, especially outside of the top guys. Do you really want to risk on we're going to wait till 58 or we're going to wait to the third round? This might be one where you got to be aggressive and go get that guy.
Yeah, you might have to, because if not, if you let the board fall to you, which is fine, that's happened and it's been a positive thing in the past. But if you let the board fall to you, you're going to be pigeonholed. Now, we're having all of this offensive talk because the Cowboys have made some free agency moves on the defensive side of the football. They have not done anything on the offensive side yet. They haven't brought anybody back. They haven't really lost anybody other than Connor McGovern to the Bills. If something were to happen over these next couple days, Brian, does that shift your thinking on offensive heavy in the first round, or are we already seeing the breadcrumbs leading to that?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, at 26, I was always going to let the board come to me when it was, I just wanted to make sure I had the right number of guys there that I really, really liked. That's what I was worried about. To me, I don't think that, if one of those, let me be honest here. If Porter, Gonzalez, Witherspoon, one of those guys get to me at 26, I'd have a real hard time not taking one of those corners at 26.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of feel like that those guys are probably going to be gone. So, am I interested in taking somebody that I have a second-round grade on at 26? No, I'm probably looking at another position. Probably looking at the wide receiver. Oh, I don't like the wide receiver guys that are sitting there. Depending on what you think about Hyatt and guys like that. I'm just kind of like, okay, fine. I'm just going to sit here and I'll take this tight end. The question. I saw an interesting question on Twitter this morning. It came from David Hellman. Hellman said, "Would you rather have the second running back or the second tight end in the draft at 26?"
Especially with the current situation.
Yeah,
with the Cowboys.
Which would you rather have? Would you rather have the second tight end or the second running back at 26? If you had one or the other.
I have my second tight end, which is Dalton Kincaid. above the second running back, which is Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
So
See,
I would take the tight end.
I have a first-round grade on Gibbs.
I have a first round on both, but
Yeah.
I have it's like a 1-2 on Gibbs. I really like Gibbs, but I think the positional value is still better from a tight end standpoint. In the first round at 26, give me Dalton Kincaid. Let's roll. I mean, that's where I'm at. Gives you a blocking opportunity, allows Tony Pollard to be better, allows your offense to be better.
If you knew what you knew about, okay, you got Ferguson and Hendershot here with the Cowboys. Would you give any consideration to Washington, the tight end from Georgia?
From a straight
26?
blocking standpoint?
Straight block, but athlete, downfield player. Just make yourself a mauler. If on the offensive line.
I would, and I kind of think that this team is going to go run heavy. I mean, that's what Mike McCarthy's talked about a lot. Now, can Coach go ahead and stop himself from going pass happy, which is his history? But we know what Brian Schottenheimer wants to do from his history as an OC.
I have a feeling he'll be calling the plays before long.
And if that's the case, Brian, you might want to go get that running back because you're going to need a bell cow, and who knows the future of TP here.
Especially with the injury.
I tell you what, man, I was watching some really. I'm just trying to kind of clean up. Not clean up. I mean, I'm still, got a lot of players still to watch.
I was about to say we're all in that regard.
Gibbs is awesome.
But I'm watching guys. I mean, I absolutely love what I saw with Eric Gray, Kendre Miller. I really like Kenny McIntosh, Sean Tucker from Syracuse. I mean, there's some legitimate backs. If you didn't take one,
you'd be okay.
20, I think you'd be fine.
You would be.
I think you'd absolutely be fine throughout this. You're going to get somebody in this draft. You don't have to say now. Bijan Robinson and Gibbs. I'd love to have Bijan Robinson. He's one of my top, and Gibbs is damn good too.
He is.
But I could say I'm kind of thinking like, let me grab this tight end, and the tight end class. It kind of
that one stretches too.
It stretches too.
Yep.
I'm kind of looking at. I was mentioned guys like I don't know what this kid from Old Dominion, this Zach Kuntz.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, 6'6", 250. You watch him move and catch and all that stuff like that, and I'm kind of sitting there thinking, okay, him, Josh Wiley from Cincinnati. There's another one.
Yeah.
This thing, Davis Allen from Clemson.
Sure.
These guys all stretch. I mean, it's a stretch. Down, not a stretch in a bad way, but there's tight ends. Maybe you don't have to draft a tight end at 26.
Might be able to get a guy like Tucker Kraft even in round 2 if you wanted. From South Dakota State.
Do you feel more comfortable doing that at tight end and running back? Because I agree. I think these are the best tight end classes, best running back classes we've seen in 4 or 5 years. But then, or does that change your thinking because offensive line wise, there's a steep drop off, especially on the interior?
See, I don't know what they're going to.
Schmitz,
I don't know what they're going to.
Osiris Torrance. Then it's a big gap.
I don't know what they're going to do here with Tyron Smith. Is the intent for him to start at left tackle and play Tyler Smith at left guard? That's me personally. This is just my thought. This is not talking to anybody at the Dallas Cowboys. I want to see Tyler Smith continue to play left tackle. I just do.
Sure.
But I wonder, I don't know that there's any guards here that you're going to take that early. And if a tackle like
would you play John Michael Smith?
Absolutely.
Because what's going to happen maybe with Farniak? I mean, it's not Farniak. For
the backup guard?
Yeah.
Or Biotish?
Biotish, I'm sorry. Biotish.
Because he's in the last year of his deal.
Right. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Are you protecting yourself with that? But are you drafting somebody at 26? I mean, you're probably going to get a plug-and-play guy.
Right.
At guard. But like I say, the whole thing with Tyron Smith has got me thrown off. That they're going to play him at left tackle and play Tyler Smith at left guard.
If you got a guy like a Darnell Wright from Tennessee that slid,
he's really good, by the way.
I mean, that guy, I'm surprised hasn't gotten more buzz, and I've started to see him move up draft boards. I'd be surprised if he made it there. I mean, he handles Will Anderson.
Yep.
He handled Ojulari one-on-one when he had to play both of those guys, and Will Anderson we know is going to be a top 5 pick. I think Ojulari has the capability to be a first-round type of player. Personally, I liked Ojulari quite a bit when we watched him, but he's big. He's got some lower bend to him. He's not a super athlete, but he handles speed and power very, very well. I thought Darnell Wright was a really good player. If he slides there, you've got a chance to take a tackle. We know the Cowboys' history with first-round linemen. It is a success.
Yeah.
Then you can kick Tyler inside to guard if you really wanted to.
Is that pigeonholing Tyler Smith, though, in his growth? Because, like Brian said...
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I think that, to me, he's proven he can play left tackle. That's your future. That's your left tackle.
But you don't think that if you were to draft a guy at tackle that could also be that he can't also be
I personally felt like Tyler Smith was a better tackle than he was a guard.
He was.
Hey, that's 100%. Just me.
That's fair.
No, I agree with you.
That's fair.
And if that's the case, do you want to throw him right back at guard with another rookie that now he's competing back and forth?
If that's the case, I want to play him at left tackle.
In the future, it sounds great because then you could put one of them at right tackle, one of them at left tackle. But in the moment, in 2023, you're not going to have that opportunity.
See, this is the thing that I worry about is that, and we had this discussion the previous show here on the Cowboy Break, was that I believe it was Amber Garcia that brought this up. I think I was right about this. It's just the previous show. I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, to be honest with you. But the thing about it is, she says, I don't want Tyler Smith to become as a Tyrone Crawford, where all of a sudden he's a good player and he's playing tackle, he's playing end, he's playing tackle. No, he's back, and all of a sudden you don't put him at one spot.
Yeah.
They're limiting his growth and his ability by mixing him up so much.
Absolutely. You're not allowing him to get comfortable. All right, let me throw another name at you then. And Brian, I wonder if you think this guy could slide you in the second round if you waited, or would you have to reach and take him in round one? Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. Because that's the guy I looked at and thought maybe he can kick inside and play some guard for you. Athletic guy, strong hands.
6'5", 318.
Yep. Now, Miles Murphy from Clemson definitely gave him some fits, and that he's also going to be a top 10 pick, in my opinion, one of the best edge rushers. But, I think he was a player that I liked quite a bit, showed the ability to get to the second level. I think he could pull for you and be a pulling guard if you kicked him inside. I wonder if you think that that's a guy that maybe you could wait on and get in round two.
I think absolutely he's a second-round guy. I mean, to me, it's funny. He is one of the best foot athletes. I said this in my notes. He's one of the best foot athletes I've seen among the tackles. And when he's super light on his feet, the adjust and all that stuff like that, you see him playing space. I mean, that tells you that probably he's better off being a tackle.
Okay.
But, man, I mean, if he's that good of an athlete, we've seen Tyler Smith move inside, and he's a really good foot athlete too. So I want to leave that guy, Bergeron. I think I want to leave him from Syracuse at tackle. Because, it's funny. He weighs 318. It's surprising to see at that weight how much he moves like a really lighter guy.
He does.
I mean, when you watch him. So to me, if you're going to do athletic things with your line, the scoops, the reach, pull, screens. God forbid they ever figure out how to run a screen around here. But I kind of feel like, though, he's better on the outside just with the athletic ability.
But just one other name before we go to break, because we do have to get to Twitter on the 20. Could Cody Mauch be in that same conversation at the second round, back half of the second round?
Ooh, yes.
If he's there, because, again, tackle in college at North Dakota State, but 6'5", 302.
I love him.
He could move inside easily, and he would fit that mold.
Yeah, I was talking to Dane Brugler about him. I kind of felt like that he could be a center, because he's 302 pounds. He's 6'5", 302.
Not massive.
Yeah, he is not a massive guy. So, to me, I kind of felt like maybe a little bit of a center guy. Snap. He's uncovered a lot. They play sometimes these odd man, or they play odd man. There's a guy on it, but with the even fronts where he's like uncovered a little bit, that maybe he doesn't have to block a guy one-on-one the whole game. But I don't know, man. The thing about him is he's got such a long frame at 6'5". I don't know how much weight you can add to this guy. Now, okay, North Dakota State, that's a national championship program.
Heck of a program.
So they've got a weight room, nutrition, we'll see, and all that. But this,
it's not a small school. That is a high-level program.
He has the ability to put on weight, and he's a 302-pound player.
Yeah, but he plays nasty.
Oh,
he's a road grader. He's looking for contact. He's looking to put people on their rear. I love Cody Mauch.
Yeah. And you're talking about pulling guards.
The versatility factor there, because you're right. I mean, the center thing's enticing. That can give you a backup plan for the future. But if you think he can play guard, much like we talked about John Michael Schmitz, I think that's a home run pick at 58 for me. I'd love that.
No, I like it. All
right. Not to mention he might have the best hair in the draft.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's up there. There's a couple guys, and we might have to have that conversation later. All right. When we come back, Twitter on the 20. It's your favorite segment. Brian, Zach, and I will get after it. Maybe even Chris Beam will chime in. Who knows? When we come back right after this on The Draft Show.
Hey Cowboys fans, if you're looking for a full-time or part-time job, check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. If you've got tax experience and want to help your community with their finances, you're the perfect candidate. No tax experience? We also offer in-person tax school courses locally. Liberty Tax has 79 locations across DFW and 2,300 offices nationwide. Learn more about our job opportunities at libertytax.com/hiring or call your local Liberty Tax office today.
Craving something flavorful? Replace that bloated burrito feeling with Smoothie King's new Power Meal Smoothies. With 3 delicious flavors like cinnamon banana, blueberry raspberry, and spinach pineapple, you can fill up on flavor, not calories. Each meal replacement smoothie is packed with 20 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber, and 23 vitamins and minerals, all under 350 calories with 0 grams of added sugar. So next time you want something flavorful, swap fast food for a Power Meal Smoothie. Order today on the Smoothie King app. Smoothie King, the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Welcome back to the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller Time. It's also tax season. It can be more stressful than the Cowboys on the clock at 26. Overcome your taxiety today with Liberty Tax, a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Book an appointment at libertytax.com/Cowboys. I went back and listened to Thursday's podcast. Brian did a great job hosting as always.
Sure did.
I loved hearing you talk about taxiety. That was my favorite part of the
Didn't know
entire
the word.
broadcast. Aisha trying to help Brian along with that
She always
taxiety.
does. Yeah.
Oh, it was hilarious. It was fantastic. But go check them out at libertytax.com. All right, brings us to our favorite segment of the show. It's time for some
Twitter on the 20.
Yeah, filling in. There you go. I like it. Very nice. Zach Wilczuk, Brian Broaddus, Chris Beam. I'm Kyle Yeomans. All right. Do you think the Cowboys would forego their big school preference if the player fit the mold at what they're doing at tackle? So we've seen it the last couple of years where the Cowboys, of course, drafting well at the tackle spot. I'm going to open this up all the way across the board, not just the tackle spot, but the question coming from Tyler asked about tackle specifically. But could they overcome their big school preference to make an early round pick if the right guy fit? What do you think?
Lay that on me one more time.
I'm trying to, because I'm looking at my names that I have in the first round.
Pulling up the sheets.
I don't have a small school. I don't have a small school player in the
Even
first
in the
round.
Remote.
Yeah, I mean the closest I would have a small school player. You got one?
No, I mean I don't think that he is. Like we were just talking about Malk. I don't think he's a first round guy.
He's also, I wouldn't consider
I have
him
the second round.
Not a small school anymore.
Second round.
Yeah.
What'd you say? What school?
Well, North Dakota State. We were just talking big program now. I don't think that they even match that. I don't think that there is. I really don't.
He would be the only guy. Again, that's a national championship program every year that lives over there in Frisco, because of national championship games. But I really don't have anybody that I would say that is a small school guy.
We should probably find someone because New England's going to go ahead and wow.
They're going to find somebody.
New England's going to go ahead and take the Old Dominion offensive tackle or something, Saldiveri.
Yeah,
in the first round.
Joey Fisher from Shepherd.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they take the defensive end from Army. That would be
Andre Carter.
Okay.
That would be something that Belichick would probably do. He loves the military kids and stuff like that. South Dakota State, Kraft, the tight end.
Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, you think he's a first rounder?
No. I was just talking about small school guys
Just in general.
in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft is a first 3-round guy. There's no question. And I do think the Old Dominion tackle should be taken in the first 3 rounds. I think that he's got a lot of flexibility.
Well, you
about
like him better than me.
Yeah, you're not a fan?
I'm just saying I don't have him in the first 3 rounds.
I got him in the 3rd.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
I'd take him in the
first
3rd
three
round.
rounds.
I'd feel very confident with that. I think he's a good player.
There you go. All right, this one's from one.
We just kind of waved you off there, So
That's okay. Hey,
I hope you're right.
When he
It's an
ends up
okay,
being good,
but-
we'll circle back.
Yeah.
Okay, comma, but we'll move on. And then we'll go
what
from
do you
there.
have him in the 5th?
Actually, where do I have him? And you might be right about that. Let me just look at that, make sure that.
Gosh, I know you so well.
I think it's a 5th round pick for me.
Imbeciles.
Yeah.
Imbeciles.
Yeah, 5th round.
There's not a lot of good tackles. He's one of these guys that has some athleticism to him. He gets good leverage, drives, finishes. I think he's an athlete with a motor. I liked him quite a bit.
Yeah. That's interesting, though. I like it. One Aisha Morrison asked us on Twitter. She's not here, so she wants to be a part of the discussion. She talks about the DB class. Which players do y'all, and I'm going to say y'all because she typed it that way, do y'all think can be shifted from corner to safety or back and forth to better their careers? Anybody on the mindset there? A little Israel Mukwamu for those thinking about the potential switch.
Well, a guy that did it already, and I think did it at a pretty high level in college, was Chartavius Martin from Illinois.
Okay.
He started off at safety, and then he had to move over and play corner opposite Devin Witherspoon. And I think he's best as a free safety, but he showed you already that versatility at 5'11", not a small, undersized guy. I think he's got good range, can create turnovers, forced a fumble versus Nebraska, also got a sack in that football game.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that definitely has the ability to go back and forth and be interchangeable if you needed him to.
Okay, that's a good one. I like it. Brian, you got anybody?
I was just kind of looking through my guys right now of where, how about this, though? There's people that with Branch, the Alabama safety, there's people that think that he's like a corner.
I
guys,
know Bobby does.
You guys feel like that's the case with him? He plays like as a safety. Alabama uses him as a safety, but I know people are talking about him as being that guy. I kind of feel like I would leave him at safety. Stevenson from Miami was another guy that I felt like could be a corner that can move to safety. I know that people aren't specifically very, very high on him. I'm probably a little bit higher on him than others there. But
all right, let me throw one at you. And this is going to probably be a weird one.
I've got a weird one after you.
I watched him, and I put maybe a safety. What do you think? And people have him as their best corner, so they're going to be like, you're a schmuck, but it's Devin Witherspoon.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because he's physical.
He is.
And he'll tackle. And I think if you put him back, and maybe, right now I think the people are just going to draft him and play him at corner. People think he's the best corner in the draft. I don't agree with that. I think he's a good player. But I watched him, and I thought maybe this is a guy that can move over and play some safety.
Well, and you just told me about their situation and the defensive backfield. They already had to move one of their safeties to corner anyway,
Yeah.
so maybe it was a necessity to put him at corner at the collegiate
Could have
level. He
been.
never had an opportunity to try and
But
show
he's
that
an aggressive
versatility.
player, has good closing speed, can come downhill. To me, he can blitz. I can see some safety traits there if you wanted to move him back there. Brian, what do you think? Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy at all. The thing about it is, there's so many good traits about the player, though. When he loves the contact, which I could see why you would play him. The physical side of the game, I could see why you would play him at safety right there. He could play slot, he could play outside, he can carry men up the field. It doesn't matter. The way he runs with guys and stuff like that, you could say, we'll put him in coverage and let him go. But I think those are the traits that we're talking about that makes him a really, really good corner.
Yeah.
But he's 181 pounds. He's 6 foot. He plays like a much bigger guy.
He does.
So I could see why you would think that he could play as a safety.
Other guy.
He reads plays really good.
He does.
Too.
Yeah.
That's
Smart
the thing.
player,
He's very
instinctive.
smart. Yeah.
One other guy that I want to throw on here. I know Brian's watched him. We'll see if you've gotten this deep. He's not a first or second round guy. He's probably a middle of the draft guy. LSU's Jay Ward. He was a Senior Bowl prospect. He was a safety in college, and he worked down. He played a lot of nickel. He did play some outside. He showed versatility in the defensive backfield. I learned this week the Cowboys did have a formal with him at the Combine.
Yeah.
Could he be one of those guys that could flip back and forth?
Yeah, I kind of feel like he's the length is really, really good for playing corner. I think he lacks a little thickness to him to be a safety. He is 188 pounds, and the thing about him is there's some good angles and things like that he'll take, and the run support and stuff like that. They love him at LSU for the leadership and the toughness. He does have that ability to play nickel, potentially play some safety for you. I think that, to me, like, the thing I really like about him is he plays the game with some urgency, and he's really good on special teams. This guy was a master at blocking kicks, is what he does. You put him off the edge, and he'll block. Like, he saved the Arkansas game for him, blocking a kick. So. Yeah. I kind of feel like he's a good finisher. And so, to put him in coverage, 6'1", 188 pounds, that mentality, that fearless style. Again, here I'm talking about an LSU guy, so I have to be really careful because I love all these kids. I really, really do. So, I see a guy that's got a little bit of versatility to him in that way.
Okay. Did you get a chance to watch him yet?
He's next up on my safety list. The guy that I did watch, though, the last safety that I saw was Kayvon Merriweather from Iowa.
Oh, okay.
He kind of looks like a corner body type to me. Now, I like him at free safety. I think that he's fine there, but he's a guy that I think could play in the slot for you if you need it. I wonder if he could kick outside and play some corner for you.
Okay.
Not a huge hitter.
Yeah, the thing about him is that I thought he had better reactions than he had speed. I was kind of worried, like there were. It takes him a long time to cover some ground.
Yeah,
and so what happens is that when he gets matched up in space, it's a struggle for him to cover those wide receivers. Tight ends is a little bit different thing, but I like the toughness. I like his ability to tackle. I think he plays well with his eyes. I just don't think he has that ability to really flip the hips and go and get somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Jake wants to know about the range for Wisconsin edge/linebacker Nick Herbig. Any thoughts on what he could bring to the table?
I wasn't a huge fan of his.
Okay.
When I watched him personally.
Of course, his brother Nate plays guard for the Eagles.
Sure.
He's part of a good football family, but he plays the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he just wasn't a guy. I wanted to like him a lot, and he plays like that TJ Watt spot.
Yeah.
On the Wisconsin defense. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't see – I mean, he was okay. I mean, he could play the run all right, but I just didn't see a guy to me that really wowed me at all. I mean, I wouldn't take him before the third round.
Yeah, I think this guy is one of those Wisconsin.
Yeah.
These kids, I mean, every time they are what they are. They're relentless in the way they play.
Yeah.
And
the effort.
Jim
there.
Leonard, the defensive coordinator there, I mean, he got these guys to play hard. So that nonstop motor, I mean, that's what you get with these Wisconsin kids. They use that motor and that the desire to get to the ball to make up for the lack of things that they have, the deficiencies that they have that they play with. But I kind of felt like that, this guy could create some turnovers. I liked him when he got in the pocket, that if he got close to the quarterback, he had that feel for like hammer the ball, knock it out, and now it's on the ground and everybody's scrambling around.
Yeah.
So I think he's more of an edge than he really is a linebacker.
I agree.
But he's 240 pounds and he's 6'2".
Yeah.
But the minute you bet against these Wisconsin kids, they play in the league, and then you look like a smuck for not talking better about him.
Because you're right, he's got some pass rush potential. He was just a little inconsistent for me when it came to getting off of blocks. Now,
he'll struggle a little bit.
He's got a good get off, and that can cause tackles problems. But man, both of those tackles versus when he played Ohio State. Now you're talking about maybe the best tackle in the draft, Paris Johnson, and then Jones, who is just an absolute mountain man on the other side.
Jones is 3 374 pounds?
Yep, 6'8".
Does he not
And
give you
some.
like Orlando Brown kind of vibes?
He does. He's got the longest wingspan in the history of the Senior Bowl,
Well, and
by
to
the way.
me, when I watched him, he didn't look very athletic.
That's what I'm saying. Johnson looks so much better.
But how do you move a guy like that?
But exactly, when he latches onto you, good luck getting off.
You're
of
not.
him.
You're not. He's got the length. He's got the size. It's not
But
happening.
those guys dominated our guy Nick from Wisconsin.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he had a rough outing versus the Buckeyes of Ohio State that afternoon.
He had 11 sacks in his final year, 15 and a half tackles for loss, but he was 6th on the team in tackles. I don't know. There's a lot.
I didn't love him.
like.
I wanted to see more from him.
Bet against him. Just bet against him, and we'll all look like fools.
Well, Zach Bond, people loved, and what did he end up doing?
Oh,
he hasn't done
I
it.
know, but it's the Wisconsin deal. It's that it's that try hard effort.
But I didn't even like him as much as I liked Bond, and Bond hasn't
liked
ended
Bond
up turning
more.
out into a good player.
You're right. I'm right there with you. I liked Bond a lot more. The thing you brought up about third round though. When we were talking about it initially, I was thinking, oh no, is he going 5th or 6th round?
Yeah.
Like when you said it, I would have him in the 3rd.
Yeah.
If he's there in 90s,
Somebody's
I'm
going to
okay
like him,
with
like
it.
Brian
He's
said.
fine.
High motor player,
Yeah.
probably a great character guy. And there's things to like about him because he shows some ability to drop off. But I agree. I think he's more of an edge player than a true linebacker.
I think so too. I'm right there with you. Get him up on the line of scrimmage. All right, that does it for Twitter on the 20. Thanks for all your questions. We'll, of course, answer some more tomorrow. When we come back, home runs. Of course, baseball season is right around the corner, but we're talking draft home runs. And basketball too. How about slam dunk? It's March Madness. Slam dunk players when we come back right after this on the Draft Show.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com is one of the most trusted ways to buy, sell, and trade crypto. Whether you're always on the go or stay closer to home, Blockchain.com is just a few taps away. Put the power of crypto in your pocket, so no matter where you are, you can trade on your terms and build a crypto portfolio to fit your life. For crypto pros, rookies, and anyone in between, Blockchain.com makes it easy to own a piece of the future. Blockchain.com, trusted by millions, trusted by America's team.
In a stressful world, Lincoln provides balance and calm amidst the chaos by creating sanctuaries that move you through the world with ease. Our vehicles make your time richer and more uplifting with human-centric design, intelligent technology, and powerful performance. As the official luxury vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys, driving a Lincoln is just another way to show your team pride. Experience our full lineup of luxury vehicles, including the Corsair, Aviator, Navigator, and Nautilus at Lincoln.com.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
The Academy of Country Music Awards are coming to the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. They're always bringing you country music's brightest stars together under one roof, and no one does country quite like Texas. Witness history on May 11th. Limited tickets remain. Get yours today at SeatGeek.com. Final segment of the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. It's also draft time. It's also March Madness. So I thought we would go with some slam dunks today. This was actually Brian Broaddus' idea in our little pre-show production text message group. Brian, do you have any? We'll let you start since it was your idea. Do you have any slam dunk picks? This is guys that you will not miss on.
Oh, you won't miss on Jamal Gibbs. You won't. Jameer Gibbs. You won't miss on him.
You might miss the first name, but outside of that,
Jameer Gibbs. Yeah, you won't. You just won't. I mean, to me, this guy is we all talk about with Bijan Robinson stuff like that, and he's going to go and he's going to have a great career. But I don't think the gap is huge between Robinson and Gibbs. I really, really don't. I mean, this kid he's got vision, he's got patience, he lets things develop, he's to and through the hole, he's got balance, he can make people miss. He's a problem to bring down in the open field. He's quick, he's shifty, he's got a burst, he's got a gear to run away from defenders, he can catch the football, he can block. I mean, if you're not in the business, I wonder if there's any teams. I would be fascinated to know the teams, how they grade these backs. I wonder if there's any teams that would have this guy over Robinson on their draft board.
Wow.
Because I feel like that when you throw this guy the ball and stuff, he doesn't fight it at all. He's got soft hands. He makes a ton of yards after catch. I mean, he's like a complete running back.
Yeah, he is.
Somebody's going to draft this guy, and it's going to be a comparison. He's probably going to have a chip on his shoulder because everybody's talking about Robinson. This kid right here, I think, is a can't-miss project. It's not often that you have two running backs in the first round. He is the second running back. I love Robinson. I've loved Robinson from the word go. But this kid right here, I feel like that he can't miss when it comes to playing in the NFL.
Yeah, I think Bijan Robinson's in that category as well.
Sure. I think both those guys are right up there.
We've talked a ton about him. I agree with Brian. I was watching Cameron Latou, their tight end, the other day, and that's when you see more of Gibbs. It's like check down Gibbs, boom, there's 30 yards down the field. I mean, this dude, the burst, speed, acceleration, he's a menace when he gets the ball in open space. So I like what Brian's saying there. All right, staying away from the running backs. You guys know my affection for Jackson Smith and Jigba.
That was going to be mine.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can rock with somebody else if you want.
No,
but
go for it.
I mean, that dude, to me, I think is a no-brainer. He's going to come in the league and succeed. And I think, and I've made this point before, you look at the guys that he played with at Ohio State, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. I felt this way about Jamar Chase when he took off a year, and you saw Justin Jefferson, and everybody was like, Chase is better. Justin Jefferson came in and dominated as a rookie. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba has Justin Jefferson-like traits when you watch him play. The route running, catches everything. He's a tremendous slot player. I think he can play and win outside. He does a good job of finding quarterbacks, and the scramble drill will work open. You know, he doesn't have necessarily the breaking tackle ability of a Quentin Johnston. He's not that kind of big player, but you know, he's quick in short areas. I mean, to me, the dude's going to be a stud. I really think that he is the guy. If you want to go get one, I think him and Jalen Hyatt are both the guys. To me, if I had to bet on the wide receivers in this class, those would be my two guys that I'd say, you know what, get me either of them, and I'm going to be able to win this draft class with those two wide receivers.
I'm going to go with the cornerback room. Of course, we've already talked about how much that we all love this cornerback class, but it's right up at the top. Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon is my guy. I think you talk about fluid hips, athleticism, the way that he stays connected to these wide receivers in coverage. He can press, he can play in zone, he can do a little bit of everything. And the way he reads the ball, he reads it out of the hand of the quarterback so instinctively. The way he takes that first step, he's able to close in on a wide receiver. He's a good tackler. He's not super strong, which is my one knock against him. I don't think the strength is there. When I watched him, I saw J.C. Horn, and I loved J.C. Horn out of South Carolina initially. Now, Horn's had some injury issues. If there was going to be something to derail Christian Gonzalez, it would be injury issues. It's the same thing. I don't think – and one, by the way, he hasn't had those injury issues in college, neither did J.C. Horn. I think that's what would be his one knock against him. But in that regard, I don't have a whole lot of knock against his game, and I think he's my guy of not missing in the first round. Give me the corner.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let me give you another guy too. Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M.
You've been on him from the beginning.
He's a free safety. This guy's 6'2". He's 198 pounds. He is physically a great-looking player. He's got a nose for the ball. He's not afraid to mix it up. He'll come forward in a hurry. He'll finish. I love the way he throws his body around when making a tackle. But you know what? He is a really good player in space. You know, coaches aren't afraid to put him on the slot in coverage. He doesn't look uncomfortable when asked to play that way. The length is really good. He can cover some ground on the move. I felt like there was a couple of times, too, when he was chasing the quarterback outside the pocket, and then all of a sudden you just see this burst, this like maroon burst getting to the football, and he can create turnovers. He knocks the ball out of running backs' hands. Antonio Johnson, free safety, Texas A&M, 6'2", 198 pounds. that to me, he's got the type of tape that makes it look like he is a can't-miss guy.
Stack your top 5 safeties for me. I'm interested to see what you think in terms of Brian Branch out of Alabama, Johnson from A&M. Where do you have them?
Branch, Johnson, Christopher Smith are my top 3 guys right now.
From Georgia?
Yeah. I like Battle. I like Skinner, too.
Battle from Alabama.
Boise. Sidney Brown is an interesting player out of Illinois. And I'll say this about Sidney Brown. I don't know if you guys have seen him at all when you've looked at safeties. Have you either one of you
not yet
seen Sidney Brown? Sidney Brown is a guy. He's 5'10". He's 211 pounds. He is a physical free safety, and I think he could be lack a little bit of fluidity when he plays in space. But he's got really good straight line speed. He does a good job of finding the ball carrier and then getting right there. He competes in man coverage. I mean, he can fight tight ends. I mean, he is a really good player, but he plays with a lot of force. He's around the ball. He creates turnovers. I mean, he is one of those guys that really he looks comfortable catching the football. He doesn't fight it at all. I mean, he's got a flair for creating turnovers. So, I mean, even on special teams, he caused a fumble in the game against Virginia on a punt where he was able to kind of make a big play. But the ball seems to go to him. I mean, again, people might ding him because he's 5'10", he's 211. Keep an eye on Sidney Brown. He's a safety out of Illinois.
Okay.
Illinois got some good DBs.
I was about to say, what are we doing with this DB class here out of the Fighting Illini?
They do. Going back to corner, my guy would be Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State.
Okay.
I think he's a guy that's ascending. I think his best football is ahead of him. He's a good physical press corner. He's got the closing speed to play off, break on the ball. Sometimes he'll even bait the quarterback a little bit, which I love. He can blitz off the edge. Does a nice job getting off blocks to make tackles in the run game. He can break. He has good timing when it comes to breaking on routes. He's not a guy that has necessarily the best hands. He might be, not the interception number dude that you want, but he's got a feel for the game, and to me, uses the sideline to his advantage. I like Joey Porter Jr. I think he's the can't-miss corner in this draft class. And an offensive lineman, he's not sexy, but Brian's not going to agree with this. I think he's a safe pick that's going to end up being very good, whether you play him at guard or tackle, and I think it's Peter Skoronski.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
He's
a top 10 player in the draft.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's going to be – he might not be an all-pro like Rashawn Slater was. Both came out of Northwestern.
No, he's a good player.
But
he really is.
Skoronski, to me, is a guy that I think if you take him, you're getting a safe home run type pick in the first round.
He's number 9 on my board, so he's a top 10 player.
He's a really good player. Can I throw another name out there?
Absolutely.
Dorian Williams, the linebacker from Tulane. I don't know if you guys have seen.
Yes. I like that.
I like Dorian Williams.
Yeah, this guy's one of the best. This guy's one of the best tacklers in the draft. The bigger the play, the bigger the stop with this guy right here. Super active, the way he plays. He can really cover some ground. I feel like there are times when the ball carrier's running and you feel like he's got no chance, and all of a sudden bam, he's right there on the tackle. You could play him as a spy. He's 6'1", he's 228.
Yeah.
So people will probably hate his lack of size. But man, he has got super long arms, and like you see him, like people try and block him, and he is running and he's pushing, and now he's off to the balls. I mean, he accelerates. He had 132 tackles his senior year. Whew. He had 17 tackles against USC in that Cotton Bowl game.
All over the place.
And I mean, you just watch that tape right there, and you're saying, who is that number 2?
Yep.
You're watching, who's the number 2? That's Dorian Williams, linebacker from Tulane. Keep an eye on him for having a really, really, really
key
good
and diagnose. I like where you're going with that one.
Yeah. I went right to him. Like you said, I was at the Cotton Bowl because both he and Tajay Spears played their final collegiate game at AT&T Stadium. And I remember watching that game, and I wrote down in my phone on my little notes app, and I said, all right, Spears 22, keep an eye on him, go back and watch him. I went back and watched him, loved his tapes all year long. I think he's one of the guys, if you want to talk about mid-round can't miss, he's up there for me. As a guy that Tajay Spears, running back from Tulane, he's in that category, but I like what you'd have to talk about. The linebacker from Tulane as well. I looked at him, said, number 2, all right, watch out here, moving forward. All right. that does it for us here on the Draft Show. We got to get out of here tomorrow. Brian will lead the ship again as he'll be back over here in the host chair. I will be back next week. Zach Wilczuk will be back tomorrow. Aisha Morrison as well. We'll see Bobby Belt next week here on the Draft Show. For Chris Beam, Brian Broaddus, Zach Wilczuk, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long. That's it for the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite. We'll see you tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this?